All right. We have a new donation. We have $40 from Vasco, which says a small contribution to help a noble cause. And good luck, Nim. Thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it. I'm BZ Archer. Like I said a few minutes ago, I am coming to the end of my part for today. Thank you all so much for joining us. Remember, trans rights are human rights. And I'm going to hand it over to our next host, the one, the only, the legendary Mr. Pease.
Alrighty, good evening. Hello, everyone. It is I, Pete's S&B. Great to be back here, not only hosting, but also doing a run very soon for Speed Stuffs for Trans Lives. And for those who don't know what this event is for, we are raising money in support of the Equality Texas Foundation. And if you want to donate, be sure to type !donate in chat and follow the Tiltify link. We're basically dedicated to raising money for charities, raised over $15,000 in 8 years of doing marathons, and we plan to continue for as long as there's interest. We previously benefited St. Jude's, Doctors Without Borders, and the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And make sure to keep those donations coming in. We're almost there to 1K, and that'll be a really awesome milestone. So be sure to get those in. All right, it looks like we are ready for our next run. Nim, take it away.
Hey everyone, I'm Nimputs and I'm gonna be playing Burnout Paradise for you for the next, hopefully less than hour 20. So I'm just gonna jump straight into this. I'm gonna pick this car. This is the first car we get in the game. And timer starts when I start my engine, which is gonna be in 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so this game is permanent open world, with every event accessible in the game directly available from the start. So the first thing I'm gonna do is go into this event called a Road Rage, which is basically has a bunch of cars just roaming around you. I need to get a bit lucky here to get good car spawns, so this can go very wrong, but I have to get a target of 2 takedowns here, and there we got them, very nice, pretty good spawns, got lucky here. And I'm gonna take this exit ramp off of the highway, and as soon as I reach this junction here, I'm gonna pull over and just stop here and wait until the event ends. So basically, these events work like you get your takedown target, and then once you have the target, you can just end them. And because this is completely free roam, I can use these events to go pretty much wherever I want, which in this case I just use to get to the next event. So we have another Road Rage here, this time with 3 takedowns instead of 2, so you can already see the takedown target gets higher the more you do. So we're not going to be seeing a lot of these event types, not a lot of Road Rages throughout the run, because they're only really viable at the beginning of the run when the takedown target is still super low. So we just start the run by doing 3 Road Rages basically to get like a quick start going, to get 3 super quick events out of the way. So now we're gonna get our first license upgrade. This is our first license that we've achieved. You get that by getting 2 wins. Basically the whole game is structured throughout licenses. The requirement for getting a license is to win X amount of events. You can freely choose which event you pick. It doesn't matter. You just have to win an amount of races. And once you get a license, the races that you have previously completed clear again, so you can beat them again. In this case, what we're gonna do, I'm just gonna use the menu to restart the previous events. I'm gonna do this Road Rage again, which has just cleared from completing the license. This time with a takedown of 4. I'm gonna take a different route this time though, and turn around here, because we're gonna use this to connect up to the next event that I'm gonna do. And this is gonna be the final Road Rage we're gonna see for a little while here. Okay, one more. Okay. Need one of these guys to slow down and crash. Okay, we're good. So I'm gonna stop the car now and just complete the race, the event here, instead of driving to the next event first. The reason for that is there's a weird quirk in the game. Whenever you start a new license and you drive to the first event in that license, there is like something we call a lockout time, where the game prevents you from entering an event for like 10 seconds or so. So in this case, we would rather end the event early and then use the 10 seconds of the lockout time to actually do the traveling, rather than drive during the event to the next event and then just have to wait here at the beginning. See, I still have to wait a little bit. So this is the next race that I want to do, and it's still preventing me from entering for about 5 seconds because I didn't have a very long drive up to it. So I still lost a little bit of time to the lockout time here. So ideally the previous Road Rage is going to be a bit faster. But anyways, this is the first race we're doing. So races are pretty straightforward. A race against AI. You have a start point and you have an end point. However, remember what I said earlier, this game is permanently open world. So that means even during races, there are no barricades, nothing that puts you on a specific path. So this race is very straightforward. You pretty much just go down this one road. But on races that later on that get a more complicated route, you can pretty much find your own route throughout the city to get to the end point. You just have the start point and you have the end point, and you can choose however you get there. And the city is big, it has a lot of cool nooks and crannies, so we're gonna see a lot of different shortcut routes that we'll introduce later. So I'm gonna drive to the next event here. This is gonna be the first stunt run. So stunt runs are kind of similar in terms of structure to road rages, what we've seen earlier. So stunt runs just have a set start point, and you have to get combos and points to get a high stunt score. And once again, like the road rages, they start with a very low target, and they just get progressively more difficult. And because these events aren't linear, you can use them to route however you want. So basically, the main aspect to being fast in this game, aside obviously from, you know, driving well and not crashing, that you can probably think about that yourself, that this is how you go fast. The most important thing about getting a fast time in this game is having efficient routing. So basically the idea is you want to pick the events that are the quickest that are available to you, and you want to pick them in a way that they line up the most optimally, so that you don't have any dead time of just doing nothing in between events. And a lot of events, a lot of races do have kind of an inconvenient starting position because they're far away from the ends of other races, for example. But then you can use like non-linear events like the stunts or the road rages to fill out that dead driving time in between. So we're in the next event here. This is another event type called, this is the final new event type. This is called a marked man, which is like a race, point A to point B, but instead of racing AI, you have random AI spawning around you in really strong, really fast cars, and they just try to take you down. If you crash a single time, it's not too bad, aside from the time loss of the crash itself. But if you crash several times, at some point you're gonna get critical damage, and if once you have critical damage, you're gonna crash again, you lose the event. And depending on one of the stats that the cars get is the strength stat, and depending on how good the strength stat of your car is, that's how many hits in a marked man or in a road rage as well you can take without losing the event. So these, basically the main difficult points of the run are gonna be the stunt runs later on. Like when you get to the end game, stunt runs get really particular and really punishing, because of course the key to getting a lot of points in the stunt run and getting points reliably and getting points quickly is keeping up combos. But if you make a mistake, like if you crash the car, or if you get a bad traffic spawn, you drop the combo, and that can lose like up to a minute or so easily if you have to redo the entire stunt run. Right now, early game, it's not so bad. You can see the first stunt run had a requirement of 5,000 points. We got like 30,000. This time it's 10,000, but all I have to do is this one jump. This gives me a double multiplier plus 4,000 points. So that's easy 12,000 points. And now I'm just smacking my... Crashing the car at the end of a stunt run is like the standard strat for ending a stunt run quickly, because the problem is with how the stunts work, with how the combos build up. Combos do have this timer that runs out that's supposed to restrict you with how much time you can take in between stunts to still keep like a combo going. And especially in the early game, that combo timer takes a long time to run out, and you can't just end the combo anytime you want, basically. So you have to first wait to not have a combo anymore, and then you can end the stunt run. And in cases, especially in the early game, when the timer takes a long time to run out, the fastest way to do that is to just crash your car into the wall. You do get the extra crash cutscene, but it is still significantly faster than waiting like 20 seconds for the combo timer to run out. For some reason I just autopiloted a path that I've never taken before in my life. I don't know how that works, but don't worry about it. We're back on regular path again. Only it'll cost like two seconds. That's a bit of a shortcut. We'll be doing this event again in a couple minutes, and then I'll do the proper route. But yeah, so this is the 6th out of 7 events in C license. So I'm gonna I'm gonna just handbrake over the finish line. I'm gonna do that a lot as well. It matters a lot for chaining events together how you cross the finish lines. So basically, after you beat a race, there's this little cutscene where you can see the car crossing the finish line, just going past off into the distance. And depending on how much speed you have and the angle you have when crossing the finish line, that affects how your car moves during the cutscene and how it's going to respawn you after the cutscene. So you really want to pay attention not just to finishing events, but how you finish them to ideally get you closer to the next event, or at least not further away. So in cases like this, where you would have to stay on the same junction, you would have to slow down over the finish line. In other cases, you're trying to take like a right or left turn on a junction over the finish line, and you know, so on and so forth. But yeah, that was C license. This is the final event of C license. We're done now with this, and we're gonna get our first car upgrade now. So the way you unlock cars in this game, usually the standard way is, as you progress through the game and beat more events, you get cars randomly spawning in the city, and they just kind of free roam around, and you have to shut them down. And then you can go to the junkyard and pick up the car that you've just crashed and drive that. So because that relies on the cars randomly spawning in the city, and then you have to drive to the junkyard and go through like a whole long process of extra cutscenes and stuff, we don't do any of the cars that just spawn randomly around the city. We just take cars that we get automatically as reward for finishing a license. So the first license we got is the Hunter Mesquite here. We skipped that because it's not really worth, the C license is so short, not really worth going through this whole extra bunch of cutscenes here in the junkyard just to switch to a car that's barely any faster for like 8 minutes of gameplay. But we're going to switch our car now in B license as the Yakuza GT. It is once again a stunt class car. So I'm gonna explain a little bit about the stunt boost now. You see me sometimes doing like a little bit of snaking on the road. That is basically what you do for or actually kind of for all the different boost types. But one boost type we get later, you don't have to do it as much. So stunt boost, basically you fill up most efficiently by doing, you know, stunty things like jumps, drifts, spins, barrel rolls, all that stuff. All that stuff fills up the boost gauge of the stunt type car. There's also the aggression boost that you fill up, where you fill up the boost gauge by breaking stuff, you know, stuff in the city or other races. And then there's the speed class boost type, which this is gonna be our next upgrade. I'll explain that when we get to it. So you see right now I did once again the same race. I was stealing first just down the road that I did in the first license, well, the second license technically. Anyways, in the previous license, that's the same event that I did again. And once again, I'm gonna drive to the same stunt run that I did previously. So you see there's a couple of like repeating patterns of specific events that I'm gonna do over and over in each license, because as I've said before, every event is available at any point. You can do each event once in a license, so the smartest routing decision is to just do the quickest events and just chain them together. And theoretically, you can just repeat that. The problem is where it gets difficult with the repeating of the events is, for one, as you go through the license, the required amounts of events that you have to do get bigger and bigger very quickly. So in the C license that I have already completed, you only have to win 7 events. So it's very easy to find 7 really fast events. But the B license requires 15 events, and finding 15 fast events is already a bit more difficult. And after that, it's 26 events, and then the final license is 40. We're not going to do the final license today. It's actually technically not even the final license, but Burnout license, the one that requires 40, is what you get to the credits. To get to the credits in this game, so that's what's typically considered any percent. I'm just doing A license today, which is a bit of a shorter run. Easier to fit into a schedule, and basically still gets you the same kind of run, just less of it. But yeah, as I've already said, as you go on, it gets harder and harder to find quick events and to chain them together efficiently. On top of that, the non-linear events like road rages and stunt runs, they get higher and higher point requirements. So as you've seen, the stunt runs that I did so far, they all went extremely quick. I just went down one road, did like one jump, and that was the points cleared. However, as the point requirement gets higher and higher, it's not going to be that easy anymore. So I'm going to have to do a bit more, have to spend a bit more time and a bit more routing to be able to beat these races. So it's also going to be harder to fit these in efficiently into the route. So basically the routing gets more difficult as you go on, to, you know, get the required amount of events and to get all the targets that you need. So yeah, we basically started out the license the same way as the previous license, but now here I added in this event plus another event that leads back to this point. So we already can see I've inserted a couple extra events to fill in the gaps to get to the to get to a higher amount of completed events in this license, while still using the basis of the original route of the previous license. So yeah, but because you need so many more events this is gonna fall apart pretty quickly. So that's not gonna be like just straightforward event repetitions in that way anymore. Because as I've said, you can't just keep repeating the same kind of event chains over and over, because they just don't hit the requirements anymore pretty quickly. So you have to get a bit creative. So the way races work, races and markmen, actually all of the linear events. So event starts are at any junction. So any junction in the game has a specific starting point. Any junction in the game has an event on it, is what I meant to say. So any junction that you see on the map has its own event assigned to it. However, all the linear events, so races and marked men, only end on one of 8 points. So there is kind of like landmarks around the city, one on each 8 cardinal directions, and all of the linear events lead to one of these 8 cardinal directions. So there's a couple of points that we visit again over and over, which has the result that you will be in these areas a lot, and that also means you run out of quick events, quick convenient events that are around these areas pretty quickly. So again, that adds to the difficulty of routing these events together. But also it has a very convenient aspect to it, and that is that it actually makes learning awful traffic. It actually makes learning the game significantly easier, because of this you end up having a lot of repeating routes, because you always go to these same 8 cardinal directions. And so you have just a lot of areas that a lot of routes that you take over and over. And this makes it easier to build up muscle memory for these routes and also to learn shortcut routes. So you're gonna see me take a lot of different like back alleys and stuff and shortcuts throughout the city. And it might look intimidating because, the city is very large, so it might look like I know every single corner of the city and know every single optimal shortcut route for like every single spot of the city. But I actually just know the shortcut routes of the routes that I take over and over. There's like a lot of parts in the city that in the speedrun I never really go to, so I don't know the shortcut routes for this. So that basically means you only have to learn a handful of like the most efficient shortcut routes if you want to run this game, and you're good to go. So that's a couple we're gonna see a bit. Meanwhile, this is a stunt run right here. This stunt run here is like the first really good example, I think, of using a stunt run to get to an event that is at a weird location. Because I took like a very specific route here to get to this junction, to basically skip having to drive there without being in an event. And as you get to the late game, we're gonna see a lot more of that. And in the early game, it's a lot more, just start the stunt, do one jump, and be done with it. But here I actually used like the stunt run to get to a specific junction, and yeah, it's gonna just get more like this as the run goes on. So I mentioned specific shortcut routes here. This is one we're gonna be doing a lot. So as I go down this road, we're gonna get past a gas station, and on the gas station I'm gonna take a right and left afterwards, to just put me on a bit of a more optimal path throughout the city, because I do have to kind of, a lot of times, you have to kind of take diagonal lines throughout the city, but then the city grid, kind of restricts your movement, and the more diagonal you go, the more direct your route is. So you see on the map, this road right here is very diagonal, so you want to go here pretty much all the time. And yeah, if you start out on this game is actually it is very beginner friendly for casual players, because this has actually built-in navigation system, so you can see like the road signs on the top of the screen. They basically tell you the quote-unquote beginner route to get to your destination. So if you see these road signs flashing up on the screen, that's the game telling you, hey, if you want the easy route to get where you go, just follow these signs. And the car also has like the blinkers, where it automatically does the turn signal, so you can follow that if you want the fastest route. So that's if you want to get into the game, that is like the easiest way to do it, to just follow the signs, and then as you get more comfortable with the routes, you can look up the different shortcut routes and get to the goals more efficiently. So this is one of the few cases where we do another road rage. So this road rage is on a road that is pretty much ideal situation for a road rage. It's pretty much just straight, pretty wide, so it's pretty easy to get the required takedowns here. And yeah, so we got a target of 5 now. If you get unlucky, you can waste a lot of time here, but most of the time, I don't know why this counted towards me. That seemed like I crashed into that car, but I'll take it. Yeah, we got all 5 takedowns now, and the race I'm trying to get to is at the end of this bridge, so I just have to now try to not get any more takedowns, because getting more takedowns slightly slows you down actually, so you don't want to get more than you have to. So this event right here, Express Yourself, is a stunt run. You might hear me refer to like event names at some point throughout the run. In this case, Express Yourself. I actually have my splits open just to see the route on my end. and I know all the event names that I do from the top of my head, so I often like just automatically, subconsciously refer to the event names, and then realize that if you don't actually see my splits, you might not even know what I'm talking about. So in case I do that, now you know what's up. So this is the event Express Yourself. I got 42,000 points, which is exactly as I need. And now to get to the next event, I'm going to stop boosting about here. And now the remaining distance that I drive without boost is gonna take pretty much the exact amount of time that the combo timer needs to run out, so I can skip having to crash my car here to end the event. So if you use a stunt run basically to get to a specific point and you have like some dead driving at the end of it, you can use that dead driving time to just let the combo timer run out and avoid having to do the crash to end the combo timer pretty much. But yeah, I like this game is like really cool with the routing. There's a lot of like, you know, change in the route that's happened over the years. So what I love about this game is, I mentioned at the beginning, every single event is available from the start. This game does not have like progression the way you have like in other video games typically, where you would like unlock specific races or something. That's not really a thing in this game. You get everything from the beginning, which gives you basically infinite possibilities of chaining events together, which means that the route as you see right now, it changes all the time. Like you can, if you're in the mood for some brainstorming, some puzzling, you can like sit down, look at the game map, and just brainstorm different events and think about how they can fit together, and maybe come up with a completely new route. There's actually there's been a lot of like route changing that's happened over the years. I got into running this game in like 2019, and the only runner at the time, I believe, who actually like routed it formally and tried to optimize it at the time was a runner by the name of Missing You, whose run was from 2015, but he had done like a full route that as I got into the game I just followed. But as I got more comfortable in the game, like at some point a friend of mine by the name It's Trigger, who also to this day still runs the game, we just sat down and also did like some brainstorming and try to find like improvements on Missing You's route. Yeah, we came up with some tweaks for the early game, and pretty much an entirely new like second half of the Burnout license run. So yeah, we did some stuff to improve the route, and we eventually settled on a route and like that survived throughout our attempts in like 2019 and 2020. And then we both kind of went away from the game for a little bit, and the route kind of stayed as it is. Last year, like a new runner showed up to the scene by the name of Demolished, and he just pretty much came up completely with his own route. Like he didn't even like use our existing route and like improved upon it. Like he just came up with like everything like from scratch himself. It looks like he probably used like a couple of event combinations that we've also done, but that might as well just be coincidence. Like his route was like so radically different from what he'd done, from what we had done, and he brought in a lot of like new events, a lot of new approaches to stunt runs that we hadn't considered before. And it was just like a completely new runner I had never heard of until like he just came in with like the really cool new route, and it really kind of opened up the way I was thinking about routing the game. And I started like in late 2022. There was like a period of time where I spent countless of hours just like with my brain constantly swirling with different routing ideas for this game, and trying to chain stuff together, trying to come up with cool new ideas. And for the first time I started like, you know, completely, rather than trying to improve the existing route, for the first time I tried to like completely scrap everything and just start building everything from scratch. And through a time period of like 2 months or so, I changed the route countless times. Yeah, currently the route that I'm using is I think like 3 months old. I think I finalized that in December last year, and then haven't touched it since. But the reason I'm telling the story is just to bring home like how much stuff you can do with routing in this game, and how fascinating I personally find it. Like, there's so much that goes into it. There's so many possibilities. Like, even with just the linear events, how you chain them together, but then you add in like stunts and road rages that give you so much more room for just, you know, messing around and finding new possibilities to connect up events. There's just a lot of stuff you can do. So if you enjoy, I don't know, if you enjoy puzzling stuff together or so, this might be an interesting speed game for you, as unintuitive as it might seem for like a street racing game. But yeah, lots of routing here. So here, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try to, here's the finish line, and I'm gonna try to take a right turn over the finish line here to go up the road. You see the camera during the outro cutscene there, it kind of moved a little bit into the wall, and that usually means usually is a good sign that my car during the cutscene moved up quite far to the road. So I'm gonna save a little bit of time driving up here this road to the next event. And this next event is another one that I've completely rerouted in a way to get to a particular event that was quite far away from all of the race endpoints that we always really liked using, but that was kind of just awkward to get to, had a lot of dead driving time. And with the way I've just started coming up with the stunt run route, you just do the stunt run, you get the points on the way, get an event done on the time you get to this next event, and then you can just do the next event without, you know, taking any extra time driving to it. It's wonderful. Okay, we're almost here. Yeah, happy Trans Day of Visibility, everyone. Alright, final flat spin here to get an extra combo. I don't think I need that, but just to be safe, and smack my car into the wall here. And coming up to this event here, which is called Mayday Mayday. It's another marked man event, so I'm gonna be chased. And it's also the final event of B license. So we're gonna get a car upgrade very soon. So starting the markman here. One important thing to note about markman and the AI of these cars that are chasing you is they only stay on the main road. So if you go into like any shortcut routes and stuff, any back alleys, any pathways through the park, they're not gonna be able to follow you. So if you just take a road like this, you're pretty much good to go. So I'm in the park here, they're not following me here, they're staying on the main roads. So I pretty much only have to worry about them if I'm on the main road. So in some situations, there are like some back alley routes that are actually slower to take, but in a markman, when you wanna... Okay, that worked out. But in a markman, when you want to stay safe, you actually just take like an extra, like little bit of a detour through like a back alley or so to just hide from them. And with this, we complete B license. So this is the last of the 15 events for the B license done. So yeah, I'm getting the license upgrade now, and I will unlock a new car that we can switch to. Also, you get to enjoy German DJ Atomica, the announcer of the game. I don't know if a lot of people have heard German DJ Atomica. Anyways, so I just unlocked the new car, but instead of switching to it immediately, I'm gonna do what I did at the beginning of the run. So because I just completed the license and it cleared the previously completed events, I'm just gonna restart the event and just do it again, just like that. This means I do an extra event in the slightly slower car, but also it means that I get to do this event again without having any time wasted driving to it. And as if you remember, I talked about previously about using that stunt run to get to this event, because the event is in a quite awkward location. It's quite hard to get to quickly. So by just placing this event at the ending of a license and then just simply redoing it through the menu, when the new license starts, you skip having to drive to that event, and you still get the benefit of having completed this relatively quick event. So that's definitely worth it over like switching to the new car immediately. But now that that's done, we get to enjoy our new car. Heading to the junkyard here really quick. I talked a lot, I need to drink something.
Be sure to hydrate, everyone.
Yeah. Alright, so this beat up car, even if you repair it, it still looks beat up. This car is just like that. They roll them out of the factory like this. The car's in fastback, so first thing I'm gonna do with this, I'm gonna do 2 stunt runs once again to basically get to places. So this stunt run right here, it has a quite particular route, and it is pretty tight, so I have to make sure here I get the points required to get the 75k point requirement. So what I'm gonna do here is cross diagonally here over the train yard, and then get to this kind of big boulevard road here, because it has a couple of jumps in the middle of it, and a couple of red billboards. These billboards give you extra multipliers as well, so you definitely want to hit them. One more here. And now, out of this turn, I hit this. Okay, nice, got this jump. This jump is really tricky because it has... That's not good. I might already have the points, but that's not good. Okay, I do have the points, but it gave me a really awkward respawn, and now I have to... Okay, whatever. I've never crashed there before, that's wild. Anyways, stunt done. I was lucky I crashed after it registered the combo multiplier from the jump, so didn't lose a ton of time here. Otherwise, if you like jump and immediately crash and landing, it usually doesn't give you the multiplier for it, which means you probably lost that jump and you have to either restart the event or do like a whole elaborate backup route to get backup points. Luckily it didn't happen here, so that worked out pretty well. Alright, next stunt run. Once again, elevation. Once again jumping over the bridge, but because higher point requirement now, we're not gonna be able to get the 87k with just going over the bridge as before, even if I do a flat spin over it, which I will do. Hopefully. There we go. Very nice. So we're almost there, but not quite, so I'm gonna take this thing and get another airtime multiplier here. Now we have 12 times 7, I don't quite trust this, so I'm gonna go back here and hit one more billboard just to be on the safe side. So one thing, if you're considering picking up this game for a speedrun, you really practice your on-the-fly math. You really need to be good at multiplying in your head, because that's really important for just getting the stunt runs.
Mach dich bereit für die Hetzjagd.
Sure, please go ahead.
Heize zum Country Club im Norden und entkomme der Konkurrenz. Überstehst du die Jagd, wird dein Erfolg in der Lizenz vermerkt.
Absolutely. I'm just getting from chat, apparently you're muted.
Oh, there's no way.
Maybe double check that.
Oh, wow.
Oh no. Alright, yeah, feel free to
I like to call
read
that
it
a me
again.
moment. Anyway, so first we had $5 from Claus that basically says I love Nimputs, and then we had a $13 anonymous that says we're really close to 1K. Cowabunga, it is. And I was reminding everyone that Equality Texas and the Equality Texas Foundation work in tandem to secure full equality for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer Texans through political action, education, community organizing, and collaboration. And I also mentioned that with all the bills that are just going across in the U.S., this is super duper important to make sure we scream trans rights and to support a really, really important cause, because trans people have literally they deserve the exact same rights as almost every American in our country and really in the entire universe. So I apologize for my mic being muted because I was giving a speech and it just didn't go through, but I'll be glad to repeat it again on trans rights. And also, this run is kind of fire.
Trans rights. Thank you. And yes, trans rights, absolutely. I had an unfortunate crash during this event. Usually you just kind of go around one time, do some jumps on the way, and it's enough points. I had, unfortunately, kind of didn't pay attention on the corner there and just smacked straight into the wall. But I was able to get enough backup points, luckily, so not the worst thing. But yeah, we are back here. Oh yeah, that reminds me, I haven't explained this boost type yet. So I mentioned earlier about aggression and stunt boost types, that you fill the boost gauge with either stunting or with being destructive. This is the speed boost type, and it is a bit different than the other two boost types. So this boost type actually has a restriction, and that restriction is that you can only start a boost when the boost gauge is completely filled, which sounds pretty inconvenient because you can't boost anytime you want. However, the advantage of this is that if you empty the boost gauge in one go, if you just keep holding the boost button, and just boost through a whole boost gauge, you get a bonus for, you know, it's called a burnout, so that's why you see like the splash text, burnout exclamation mark popping up on my screen all the time. That is basically just boosting through a whole boost gauge, and that gives you a really big boost bonus of like about 2/3 of the entire boost gauge, which means that if you do anything during the time that you're boosting through one boost gauge, even if it's something as simple as like driving in oncoming traffic as I'm doing right now, doing 1 or 2 near misses, doing like a small jump or something, that is usually enough to automatically fill the boost gauge back up. And I'm just chaining burnouts here, as you can see, like this. So this boost type is just very convenient for going fast. It's not perfect for like doing stunts, because in stunt runs often to set up like jumps or so, you have to like slow down and accelerate back up. So having a speed boost type makes stunts a little more risky, because you can't do a boost at any point, and also a boost counts as doing a stunt. It gives you points and it keeps up your combo. So in some cases, if you make a mistake during a stunt run and your combo timer is about to run out, you can save yourself by just tapping the boost button. But with this type of car, with a speed boost, you may not be able to do that. You know, if everything goes well, it doesn't lose any time. It's just kind of riskier, and it saves a lot of time, like on races and such, because with the other boost types, you often just have to like snake a lot, and that kind of is sometimes very distracting from just trying to drive and not crash into things. Like sometimes you see me like snake, and then you know, the car does like a very small snap in a way that I didn't fully expect, and like throws off my line really bad, or I just snake around and I just get distracted and I forget to look at the traffic. So those are problems you have with like stunt cars and stuff. If you want to keep your boost up, you don't have... Wow, that guy got me. If you drive a speed type car, you don't have any of these problems, because if you just hold down the boost button, most of the time it's gonna automatically refill your boost gauge, so you can just keep boosting. Pretty convenient. That was a weird respawn. So if you run this game like and if you compare against your PB, there's a lot of like random 5 to 10 second time losses that you just get on a split by split basis. Like these are huge chunks of time that just go up and down like on each split. That just sometimes happen, but this is just because of stuff like either a crash that can randomly happen that costs like 10 seconds or so, or stuff as like minor as like getting a weird angle over the finish line, getting a weird respawn after an event or so. Like stuff like this, where I just, after the last event, I just got a weird respawn in the wrong direction and took me a moment to react to it. That's like a couple seconds lost there. So you just have like, when you run this game, you just have like smaller time saves, time losses that just come out of nowhere all the time. And yeah. So I can talk a bit about like the different... That is very bad card. Traffic spawn. I can talk a bit about the different versions of this game. So I'm currently playing on the original PC version, which is the Ultimate Box version. So the game originally came out in 2008, and then I believe in 2009 they added a bunch of extra content to it, including a completely separate bikes mode where you can play the game with bikes. And that is the Ultimate Box, and that is basically the more or less the final version of the original 2008 release on PC. That is what I'm playing right now. But then also in 2018, they released a remaster of this game. The remaster is basically the same game. It mechanically pretty much exactly the same. Graphically a little bit polished, but like if I wouldn't know it would look different, I probably wouldn't notice it. Like it's very pretty much the same game, the remaster. However, the remaster has some minor tweaks, like it changes some point requirements for road rages. So for example, if you run the game on remastered, you have lower road rage requirements. And also the cool thing about remaster, why I can recommend that version in particular, is not because it's that good of a remaster, but because it includes all of the DLC that ever got released for this game, including some of the DLC that was never released on PC. So the biggest DLC this game ever got, I think, was the Big Surf Island, which is its own separate city map. It's like a little island outside the city. If you've seen, I believe, last GDQ, Time is Weird might have been the one before that, but some recent GDQ main event, there was actually a run of that by the Japanese runner Sawtooth. It was really good. Go check that out if my run interests you at all. Burnout, the Big Surf Island is a really cool run. The city map is a lot more compact. It's a lot more vertical based, a lot more like weird stunts and mountains and all that. It's a really cool run. Go definitely check out Sawtooth's run. Sawtooth is also the world record holder for the Big Surf Island on the remaster. But yeah, the remaster is cool for having all of the DLC included, and with all the extra stuff that they have added to this game over the years. The leaderboards are a little bit messy for this game, because you have the two different versions with the original and the remaster, and then you have basically separate campaigns in the game you can do. So you have the standard main game campaign, as it's called on the leaderboards. Previously was just called Cars, which is what I'm doing right now. So that is basically the main core Paradise City campaign. Then you have the Bikes campaign, which is basically bike time trials throughout the city. It's a pretty comfy run. It's mostly just like pure driving, so if you just enjoy like cruising throughout the city and just like really focusing on optimizing your cornering, bikes might be up your alley. But compared to the Cars run, it doesn't really have a lot going on. It's literally just pure driving. And then you have the Big Surf Island DLC, which is basically its complete separate map. And then you have categories that combine both. So there's a lot of different stuff going on, and then you can do all these different parts of the game to different completion. So each license completion has its own category in this part of the game. Then you have 100% and any percent on both Big Surf Island and Bikes, which some of which include like all the collectibles and stuff. There's collectible categories for like getting all the billboards, getting all the super jumps. There's just a lot of different categories in this game. So if there's any content in this game you particularly enjoy, that you feel like speedrunning, there's probably a category for that. It's also pretty cool because it gives you a lot of choice. Like, I wouldn't really recommend, if you're interested in this game, to jump straight into like the full game run, the Burnout license, because on a first run that's going to be like probably over 3 hours, and it's quite a lot to take in because it's a long route, lots of events. Love this route here, by the way. This is hopefully don't crash here. No, we got it. Very nice. I love this shortcut. But yeah, I wouldn't probably recommend doing like a full any percent Burnout license run, because it's pretty long. But all of the individual categories, all of the individual licenses that I mentioned as I got them, all of these shorter segments of the game have their own category. So for example, the way I got into this game is I just saw the leaderboards and I was like, oh, there's a category for D license, there's a category for C license. D license takes like 1.5 minutes, it's literally 2 events. C license takes like 10 minutes, it's 9 events. I was like, yo, this is like super, like a super short meme category. I never had any intention of like seriously running this whole entire game. I was just like, you know, just spent the afternoon like getting some runs for the short meme categories done. But as I was getting my runs done for the short meme categories, D and C license, I kind of like got a feel for what it's like to run this game, and I kind of got a taste for it. So I was like, you know what? After C license, let me learn B license. That's like, at the time it was like under 40 minutes, so still pretty comfy length, but you know, a lot more of a full game speed run. And you know, as I got more comfortable with B license, I did A license, which is 1.5 hours, and then eventually, also with some peer pressure from It's Trigger, who I mentioned previously, who also started learning the game alongside me, we did like our first like full Burnout license / any percent race, which at the time was like 3.5 hours maybe, and like these different categories on to different degrees of game progression are really nice for getting into the game, because you can basically just take baby steps, like start with the slow categories. Those are very easy to learn. Just look at a run, what route they go, and then just try to follow that along. It's pretty straightforward. And then while you do that, you get a feel for basically the whole vibe of the run and how to approach it and all that. And then you can, one by one, get into the longer categories. And regarding learning the routing, so you see me basically just, right now you don't see my splits, so I'm basically following along the splits. The splits just have the names of the events. But obviously, if you start out the run, you don't know the event names. Like when I started, I didn't know a single event name. So what we have is in the guide section, it's basically maps, just a blank city map and just numbers on the map, just marking out the events in what order you have to do them. So you just follow along the map, just do event number 1, then go to the junction of event number 2, do that, go to the junction of event number 3, and so on and so on. So for new runners, I would really recommend, like if you have like a second monitor or like maybe a tablet or something, you can throw up one of these guide maps on your first couple runs. Just have that open and just follow that along, and then as you do more runs, and you can also, like, if you look at your splits that have the event names on them, at some point you just know the event names from the top of your head. Like, I have not, as I've said, I've started running this game in 2019. I don't think I've used the map since like 2020. I just know like all the relevant events names just from the top of my head now. Like I know all these junctions, what events they refer to, what I know all these event names and what junctions they refer to rather. And you just kind of start picking that up as you just follow along a map for like a beginner. So I recently, as I've mentioned earlier, there's been a lot of route changes over the years. There are currently 3 different map guides in the guide section on speedrun.com for this. I recently made a new one for the most up-to-date route that I've used in my recent world record. So you can use that, but you know, if you're more comfortable, you can also use like the older route, for example, the one Trigger and I used back in like 2019, 2020. That route I feel like is a bit easier to follow because it has you know, the routes for stunt runs are a lot more freeform. Like my new route, as I've mentioned before, since Demolished with his new route came onto the scene, really kind of revolutionized the degree with which we use stunt runs for routing. So my last route has a lot of very particular stunt run routes, which obviously aren't as easy to learn as you know, just knowing, oh, here's a stunt near the beach, so you just go to the beach and do some jumps there. Or here's a jump near the bridge, so you just go to the bridge and do stunts there. Like, that is much easier to learn than having the very specific stunt routes that I do in the newer routes. So for beginner, it might be a bit easier to like take the 2019 route or so, to just follow along. But you know, there's options. And again, if you're into puzzling stuff together, you can just come up with your completely own route completely from scratch. There is like infinite possibility. I'm surprised that didn't crash me. There's infinite possibilities of chaining these events together, and I'd love to see like another kind of situation like when Demo came on the scene and just came up with his own like bunch of cool new ideas that changed the way that I've been thinking about routing, and adding a lot of new ideas that I've never thought of. So can recommend giving it a shot. Again, if that's something you're into, you know, puzzling. It's basically a giant puzzle, routing this game, so it's pretty fun. And yeah, I haven't, again, the route hasn't changed in like 3 months. But that is more so because I haven't really been in the headspace of really getting into the brainstorming of the rerouting, and not really because the route is perfect. There are still like some spots in the route that can easily be improved, that are a bit unoptimal, where you have some awkward driving times in between events. But you know, the route's been pretty good. I've been pretty happy with it, so I've not felt enough of a need to try to rethink it. But I'm sure in the future I will at some point get fully back into just like trying to reroute everything again. At some point, we'll see. But you know, there's a lot of options here. So yeah, the bit of a disadvantage of taking shortcut routes is that in shortcut routes there's no oncoming traffic, so if you take a lot of shortcut routes, sometimes you have to do a little bit of extra snaking to fill up your boost gauge. So that's the one disadvantage here. Well, you know, it's not too bad. The snaking doesn't really kill your momentum as much as you would think it does. But yeah, we're getting towards like the final stretch of A license. So again, for those who came late to the run, I explained it earlier, but the game progression is basically structured through licenses. The more events you complete, the higher license you get. The license that gets you the credits, that is considered any percent, is the Burnout license, which is the 5th license, and it in itself requires 40 event wins on top of all the other licenses, which currently the world record on this version of the game is a 228 on remastered, even though it's pretty much the same run for the most part, if you don't use the DLC cars, is the 226. Just happened to be a cleaner run when I did it. And A license is basically just, you know, instead of 5 licenses, you just get 4, and it's basically the same run but shorter. I've never really, I just noticed I haven't mentioned this, but I talked about the remastered version of this game earlier, and I mentioned that it has all of the DLC included that was ever released for the game, for the original version of the game. And that includes a lot of bonus cars. And the bonus cars are not locked behind the regular game progression. So you don't have to do any game progression to be able to use the bonus cars, the cars that were added as DLC. And some of the cars that were added as DLC are really OP. Particularly one car called the Nighthawk, which basically looks like a Knight Rider type futuristic muscle car. That car is both one of the fastest cars in the game and also one of the strongest cars in the game. So it's completely overpowered, and because it's a DLC car, it's not tied to the game progression. So if you play on Remastered and start a fresh save file, you can just pick that car. So that is the standard kind of category for this game on Remastered, because you know, it's available, and because it's included by default on Remastered, you can't really say it's a DLC either. It's just part of the game. So the standard Remastered category allows using those bonus cars, but we have added another category that forces you to use the regular cars that you unlock over time, which I personally think is a more interesting run because it gives you more variation. You know, a bit better sense of progression. Like if you just use the same car for the whole time, you will be much faster, but I don't know, it's just not as cool of a run. Like when you actually get to switch cars and actually get to have an upgrade over the course of the run. So I very much prefer playing either the original game without these DLC cars, or on Remaster just with the car restriction, the category. Yeah, so basically the standard run on Remastered is basically like a New Game Plus, you could say. The run, currently the record on Remaster with the DLC cars is much less optimized, but it is currently about 8 minutes faster than without using the DLC cars. But again, the run is less optimized. With the higher speed you get in this car, the run gets very messy. So it's a lot harder, I feel like, to get a clean run. Especially doing the early game with a Nighthawk, doing all these events with like this really low requirements, like 2 or 3 takedowns, 10,000 points and stuns. Doing all of that with like the fastest car and the most OP car in the game. It just feels like the car is like too powerful for these low requirements. So doing all that stuff with that car is actually pretty tough, and I tend to get very frustrated trying to do it. So I stick to the regular cars category, and just, you know, start out slow but then have the progression over time, and yeah. Something I haven't mentioned yet of this game, I'm pretty much through most of my bullet points here, what I can talk about of this run, but this game has actually extremely in-depth lore. There's a lot of really deep stuff going on, and the stuff going on is there's cars that drive around, and they're pretty fast, and they break stuff, and dudes rock. That's the law of the game. Alright, coming up here to this marketman. Speaking of lore, actually, if you take a close look at the cars, I might be able to show it if my car gets a bit more wrecked in a second, but there is actually no drivers inside the car, so it's just the car models with no one sitting inside it. I'm sure I get to show it off pretty soon. because I'm sure my car's gonna get smacked up any minute now. You see? No, you didn't see. But there's no one sitting in these cars, so maybe you can make up some grand conspiracy about, like, I don't know, autonomous cars taking over the city, and it's an apocalyptic.
So you're telling me
wasteland
that
or something.
Basically, the Tesla, the self-driving cars existed in this game's universe.
I mean, there's no one in these cars, so technically, I guess you could say that this game is Elon Musk's utopia. Like, if you want to come up with law, might as well do that. You see, now you can see, there's no one in the car. Can't, oh. I should probably stop looking at my car. Yeah, don't do the swirly camera and drive, because it's not gonna go well. It's fine. Oh, I'm on critical damage. I should actually pay attention. So I'm gonna do the thing that I said earlier now and hide in a bit of a back alley here. So there's this path here that goes along the regular road, and it's a shortcut path. So the AI from that try to take me down don't follow me in here. And the ending of this event is like right at the exit of this path. So it's a pretty convenient way to hide. It takes like the route that it follows takes like a bit of a turn, so you take like a bit of a more outside line of this curve. So it's a bit of a longer road, but you know, if you're in a situation like this where you on critical damage and you know you can't afford to crash anymore, might be worth taking like the slightly longer line on just for the sake of not crashing. Again, if you are on critical damage and you crash again, you lose the event and you just have to redo the whole thing, so you lose like a minute, so you definitely don't want to do that. There's one of the free roaming cars that you can lock on that I mentioned earlier, and I accidentally took one down. It's not too bad in this case because I'm only getting the A license in this run and then just stopping. But if I were to do a full Burnout license run, this would probably cost me like 20 seconds overall accidentally taking down that car. Because for one, I get the crash cutscene of taking down the car that you just saw me get. And then also when I get to the next license, if I were to continue the run after A license to switch my car, I get this whole extra cutscene of the car dropping down to signify that I've unlocked it. So, and the cutscenes are pretty slow, so you definitely want to avoid taking down the free roaming cars here. Oops, awkward traffic. So this ramp right here is a bit tricky. You see it's just kind of like a pile of dirt, and it's about equally bumpy. So if you don't hit it like perfectly straight, hit it like slightly on the edge or so, you're not gonna get any height from it. Your car's gonna spin, you're gonna crash, and it's gonna be miserable. So you have to be, with this shortcut, you have to be very careful to just not drift and just hit the ramp perfectly straight on, because otherwise it's just gonna throw you off really badly. So you don't want that. Okay, I think we have about 3 events left. So we have here the final markman that I'm gonna do. Take the shortcut here onto the highway, because the event starts on this toll booth. It wants me to be on the highway because that's where the event starts, but I'm gonna leave the highway immediately and go back to my established diagonal park shortcut, which is very nice because there's. I shouldn't speak too early. I was about to say that these guys can't follow me in there, but sometimes they just kind of get stuck on you and you end up in the wall. I don't know where I am. Why did it respawn? And sometimes the game just does stuff like this, and you just kind of die. And if that happens 1 or 2 more times, then I lose like a minute or so. So sometimes this game just throws you some curveballs, and you just die and lose a lot of time. So I am actually going to try to pay attention now to not crash anymore. In general, for these marksman events, the faster you drive, the harder of the time they have keeping up with you. So if you're new to this game, you might have like you might have like the intuition to try to I think I just got kicked. I think my Discord just briefly disconnected and I got kicked out of the call, so you probably can't hear me now. I'll try to join back in. Can you hear me? Okay, good. I'm okay. I'm probably just not in the something weird happened on Discord, and I'm a bit confused now to what happened. Okay, you can hear and see me. That's good. Yeah, I'm not sure what's up with Discord, but as long as you can see and hear me, it's all good. I'm just gonna continue. Probably can't hear the host anymore if that is the case. But yeah. I'm gonna do a final road rage here, which I'm once again gonna attempt to use to connect up with a different event. Ah, I'm back in the call. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, okay. Tech issues. I was very thrown out of it here for a second. I forgot my train of thought, but I think I'm back now. So that's nice. So I'm gonna use this road rage to try to get to the final event of the run. Like once again, a non-linear event, so I can route it however I want as long as I get the point requirement on the way. What I was saying about the marksman before, as a new runner you might be scared of these guys trying to take you down, so you might have the intuition to try to drive slow and safely. But actually you have a much better chance to survive if you just, you know, just full throttle it and just go high speed the same way that you would do a race, because the faster you go and the less you slow down, the harder of a time they have trying to take you down. So as long as you are confident in your routing, can someone die? I'm trying to beat my racing. There's cars all around me and they won't die. There we go. Finally. And now not get lost. Okay. So we have that was a very bad road rage, but we got it eventually. So something that happened there, you saw me just go in a straight line and going past the junction that I wanted to stop at. If you get a hit from an opponent, you just get kind of like locked in a direction and you can't really control for a couple seconds. So if you get unluckily hit in a bad way, then your car just kind of keeps going straight, and if you're unlucky, just sailing straight into a wall. So that can happen, and that happened there. Luckily, I had a bit of empty space ahead of me, so I was able to not crash, but that's a mechanic that you should know about. Anyways, this is the final race of A license, and then that's gonna be time. Pretty much doing the same route that I've done previously, going through the park. I'm sorry the weather is so misty. It's not giving off the Paradise City vibes that you might expect from the name, but you know, the weather is kind of on a cycle, so it's just whatever you're gonna get. But yeah, time's coming up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, time. And that's Burnout Paradise A license. Again, about half of an any percent run. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the run. I've already talked a lot throughout the run, so I don't really have a whole lot more to add. But yeah, I just hope you enjoy the run. If this interests you, give the game a shot. It is surprisingly beginner friendly to get into, and yeah, I'd like to shout out once again all the runners I've already mentioned: Trigger, Demolished, another friend of mine, Duty Dudes, Missing You, and Sawtooth, and the 2 of the other moderators, Burn and Rubber and the Morgue. Yeah, thank you all for doing this game with me. It's been great. There's been a lot of you know, routing developments and stuff. So I've enjoyed running this game over the years. I've always you know, dropped it for a little while and always enjoyed a lot picking it back up. So yeah, this game is lovely. It's a great speed run. I love it. And yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed the run. Keep donating, very important cause. You know, with the whole moral panic going on right now against trans people, this is a very important cause to support. And with moral panics, I hope they're gonna stop being the media center at some point, but in the meantime, yeah, keep supporting the cause, and yeah, keep donating. Thank you everyone who's donated. I'm very happy I could be here for this, supporting the event. Thank you for the organizers for having me and such, and yeah, that's it. I'm done.
That was a very awesome run by Nim. I have not seen good racing games in a hot minute. This is like the second time I've seen Burnout being ran. So by 2 different people, actually, by Nim and Sawtooth. But needless to say, it's always really comfy to see basically cars go fast, whether you're driving a car or you're just straight up bumping into other vehicles, burning out. Yeah. Speaking of which, hopefully everyone is doing well tonight, being really cozy, stuff like that, and get those donations in. That's important as well. I'm also taking a quick gander in the chat, seeing that Reveries webcam might be certain character. and I'm seeing everyone is actually really excited for Sonic 06. As a Sonic fan, it's a game. It is a game. I actually have my 360 sitting like right next to my PC. But I think my 06 CD is in storage. I call it a CD. My 06 disc is in storage. I still can't believe I beat the game at a young age. It's a very tough game. Very tough game. Tough in the broken sense. I'm trying so hard to not say bad things about it because I mean, it's one of the best in terms of the soundtrack. I don't care what anyone says.